Hey guys, it's Sharon from Digital Nomad Quest, and I'm here with Irene Tang, founder of Bay Wellness Coaching. So why don't you tell us about yourself?
So like Sharon mentioned, I do wellness coaching. I started my own company and I previously worked a regular corporate job and it just wasn't really the right fit for me. It wasn't the right fit for my personality, how I enjoy living my life day to day. And coaching was something that I did on the side for a long time while doing my professional career, and then switched to doing it full time now.
Cool, yeah, so I wanted to talk to you more because I'm kind of interested in coaching as well, and it's kind of like a remote position you can do from wherever you want, and it allows you to help people. So I was wondering, I mean, you kind of addressed it earlier, but like I wanted to know why you left like Google to pursue coaching, because you know, Google is like a dope company and most people like wouldn't leave it, right? So what drove you to that decision?
Yeah, so I worked at Google for about 6 years. Before that, I also worked in a corporate job as well. At Google, I did program management, and I knew I did enjoy it to a certain extent, but I felt like I spent a lot of my time doing things that I wasn't feeling was perfectly aligned with what I'd like to do with my life. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy working with people directly, helping people. I did think that working on user experience was something that I did enjoy. Like I did a product management certification when I was doing UC Berkeley executive education. So I finished that. But on the side, I knew that I really enjoyed helping people with coaching them through like difficult life changes. So like some of the things that I did at work was like help lead the LGBT group. So it's called the Gigglers, and it's pretty much our company's employee resource group for people who are LGBT identifying and allies. So in that, I really enjoyed helping build community. I talked to a lot of people who are coming out or trying to understand how to navigate coming out and their professional lives, or just pretty much anything that goes along with it. And that's something that I really enjoyed, and that's something that I did for about 10 years already. First started at UC Berkeley when I was doing one of my majors in psychology. I was at the student center. I helped a lot of student organizations with their programs and helping coordinate like community events, and that's all stuff that I really enjoyed. And I just did on the side for a long time. But yeah, Google I think is pretty good employer. So like a lot of people still ask me like, oh, is it great working at Google? Like, yeah, they have amazing benefits. They really have like some of the best benefits you'd imagine. But if it's not what you're personally interested in, it's just not going to make you as excited about your work. And I spoke with a lot of coworkers who also pursued their own things afterwards, and they were really happy. So I was like, you know what, this is something I could do. And I had a really good support network in terms of like my family and my friends. They're all very supportive of me, and I've been really happy.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this channel is all about kind of pursuing your passions and designing your life, so it's really cool to hear that. You kind of talked about a few different things that you've helped support people with, so just wondering, do you have like a specialty in your coaching? I think you kind of talked about people's struggles as well as the LGBT community. Do you have a specific niche when it comes to like coaching?
In terms of coaching, I think the main things that I'll focus on are like fitness and nutrition. During my time, I also got certified as a personal trainer. I also did a nutrition certification, and I did take some marriage and family therapy classes, and I also have a BA in psychology as well. So it's all kind of a mix of general wellness and well-being. So a lot of like nutrition, people who are trying to manage their weight. I do some relationship coaching, some career coaching, because I did have like a corporate career myself. I feel like I can really understand what people are going through, as well as making major career shifts, which I also made, and then LGBT coaching. So I'd say like those are the main areas, like career, relationships, and dating. A lot of people who like get out of breakups and they're trying to start dating again, I feel like that's a big trigger for a lot of people to look into getting coaching or a therapist or anything like that. And then yeah, weight loss, weight management, nutrition, and LGBT, and coming out and people coming to terms with their identities, whether it's like their sexual orientation or their gender identity.
Cool. Is there one that you're like more passionate about, or you love like talking about all of them? And is there one that more clients come to you for?
I think it's a mix. Like a lot of the people that I'll get word of mouth is maybe because they've already talked to me about something in terms of like career coaching. That one's pretty common, I think, because a lot of people in the Bay Area are looking to make career changes. And then I think LGBT is probably something that I personally identify really strongly with, because a lot of my clients are Asian American, and given like our communities and the way we grew up, we might have a different experience than if somebody were of like a different race or cultural background. I think I have a lot of understanding of that experience after coming out myself like many years ago. I think it's something that I identify strongly with and really enjoy helping people, and that's probably, I would say, my favorite one.
Cool. So when it came to transitioning from helping people like kind of more voluntarily versus like actually starting your own business, how was that transition like, and were there any resources you referred to become a coach?
Yeah, I definitely talked to a lot of other small business owners that I know, a lot of like former Googlers that I talked to. I think a big part of it is that at first I wanted to just help people and like help them on the side. I had my own job, so I wasn't worried about the income related to it. And then after having built up a bit of a brand and people like knew me as a person they could go to as a resource, who, you know, knows a lot of people at all these major tech companies or a lot of different organizations, I think that was just something people would connect me to, people who were like looking to change jobs or looking to make different life changes. And then just kind of taking that brand and really establishing it by creating like a website, creating like public profiles through social media, like Facebook, Yelp, those types of things. And I think that's kind of what enabled me to kind of make it a more monetized thing by like officially putting my branding out there. And so then people know like, oh, I'm running a business now, as opposed to it's just them connecting me to a friend.
Cool. So when it comes to people who like want to pursue coaching, do you have advice on different resources? Like, should they get certain certifications? Should they take any specific courses? Should they like start talking to business owners? What are a few tips you have for that?
In terms of going into coaching yourself, I think there's so many different routes. Like, I've talked to a lot of different people who've done coaching in different capacities, and I think maybe it depends a bit on what you want to specialize in. And then I think it's also good to have a general background in psychology, just because as a coach, you kind of assist people on working along to their goals. But if somebody needs something where they need like medical help, or they are having like suicidal thoughts or anything like that, I think it's really good if you're somebody who knows like when it's kind of come to a point where it becomes like a medical issue and they should be like contacting like a medical professional. Having had some of a background in studying like clinical psychology, I think I'm pretty aware of that already. And then in terms of coaching, I think people have a lot of different specialties. Like, there are coaching certifications you can get from like different organizations. But for me, a lot of it is I'm coaching on topics that I've had a lot of experience in already. And some certifications, like I did like a project management certification, a product management certification, like personal training certification, like nutrition certification. So like I've done a lot of these different certifications that I felt were helpful and helped me feel more confident in it. And then also just having that experience of doing it already. I think if you kind of tell people like, oh, I'm looking to do coaching, and do some like free stuff first, just like with your friends or family, just so you can get a little bit more used to it and feel comfortable and confident, then I think you just kind of have to try it and see if it's something you enjoy, and then see how it goes.
Cool. Where did you get that certification?
Depending on where you do your certifications, I think there are a lot of organizations that do coaching certifications. For me, for my personal training certification, because I do also enjoy focusing on like fitness and nutrition, I did that through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So that's pretty much the general certification. If you want to work at any like major prestigious gyms, they all accept that one as one of the major certifications. And I thought it would be helpful because part of the certification does talk about like people's motivation and like how to like keep people motivated to working out, teaches you like how to exercise properly, teaches you some nutrition, it teaches you kind of a whole range of fitness related things, which I thought would be really helpful. My BA I got at UC Berkeley, go Bears.
Yeah.
So I did one of my BAs in psychology. I also did a BA in economics as well, but I think I rely a lot more on my psychology BA. In that regard, I did a nutrition certification through a university in the Netherlands through an online program, and then product management at UC Berkeley as well, executive education. So I think the product management and project management background I have helps me kind of break down the assignments and tasks people are looking to achieve, whether it's like a really big life goal of like, oh, I want to feel like healthier and lose weight, to like break it down into smaller pieces by like a certain timeline and something that's actionable, like however many pounds in however many weeks, figuring out like what we want to change, like how many days you're exercising, and really thinking it as small life projects as opposed to something that's so big that people feel like they don't want to start because it's so intangible.
Cool. I'm glad I have a psychology BA as well in Berkeley, so it's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to kind of the day-to-day. So what does your day-to-day look like when it comes to coaching?
When it comes to coaching, I think in the morning, most of the time I'll actually spend either learning or taking some online classes. A lot of universities have like online classes. So in the morning, I'll probably spend a little bit, like maybe 1.5 hours learning about some different topics. Like I just was taking a class on like pregnancy nutrition not too long ago. I took a class on like parenting and just a lot of different topics just to stay aware, knowledgeable about different things. I'll often respond to emails at least a couple times a day. So I'll probably check my email in the morning first thing, just in case any of my meetings get rearranged or anything like that. In terms of the day-to-day, it kind of varies a lot. I think it just depends on what times I'm meeting with my clients. So like certain clients I know I meet on like these days. Sometimes they'll get rescheduled. So I really kind of just keep using my calendar very religiously. I use Google Calendar. I bought the Google Apps suite for running my business email. So I get all the tools associated with that in a corporate email handle. Then I spend probably a couple hours coaching, doing the actual coaching work. Sometimes I'll commute, so sometimes I'll drive to meet up with people in person, and sometimes I do remote from home. So that gives me some flexibility in my day. I usually have a couple hours to run errands, which is really nice during the day. That's something that I never got to experience while working corporate. I'll have a few hours to like do groceries or cook or clean, do other things that I've wanted to do in the house, like small house projects, things like that. Installed a doorbell recently, fixed my dishwasher at a rental property. So yeah, I think I'll spend probably 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours coaching, it depends. And then some commute time, some house chore time, and then usually some time learning about something new.
Okay, and then when you coach people, do you have like a specific agenda, I guess? And yeah, like what do you ask them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I have a contact form on my website. I also get a lot of people through Yelp. So either one of those, when people reach out to me, they'll put a description about what they want to do. And I'll always have like an initial 30-minute phone call to see if we're a good fit. During that 30-minute phone call, I just get a better idea of like how they're living their life. Like what's their day-to-day look like on like a random weekday, like for that given day or like the previous day. Just because I also have a little bit of experience in like user experience. And I do also kind of like do a small interview with them to see kind of how they're living their life, and then get a better idea of the goals that they want to work on. So people will tell me a little bit more about like why now for looking into coaching, and what kind of topics. So I always take notes on things. I use Google Docs and keep track of the different projects people want to work on. And then during our future sessions, I'll usually give people homework. So I'll take a lot of notes during our meetings and then kind of wrap up at the end, like what are the homework assignments that they're going to be doing before the next time we meet. So it might be like scheduling like a few dates before the next time we meet, whether it's like people starting to date again, like kind of going through and like maybe thinking about what didn't work out in their previous relationship, what parts of the relationship they really enjoyed. So sometimes I'll give them little assignments, like if somebody's looking to switch careers, like I ask them like, okay, well, let's write down like all the careers you think you'd enjoy and like why you'd enjoy them. And then maybe another assignment that we've done is people will write down all their previous jobs and why they like them and why they didn't like them. So then we can have stuff to talk about during the meeting. So I'll usually give people a couple of homework assignments to do in between. Most of my sessions are an hour long. Sometimes I do like 1.5-hour sessions. Sometimes if I'm meeting with a couple of people, then it might be like a 2-hour session. So it really varies on the time length, but it's usually like hourly.
Okay, and do you do it like weekly with recurring clients? And I guess what's your structure like when it comes to, do they come to you for like an hour consultation, or do they stick with you for a long period of time?
So the first initial consultation is 30 minutes, and that's just like a complimentary free consultation that I'll have with them. Subsequent meetings are usually an hour long, depending on the type of thing that people want to work on. Sometimes I'll meet with people twice a week. So if people are looking to do more like fitness work, like I'll actually meet with them and help train them, give them exercises, do exercises with them, kind of correct their form, help them out. Those might be like a couple times a week if they're looking to exercise a few times a week. Some people I'll meet with once a week, some people I meet with once every 2 weeks, and some about like once a month. And so it's all just kind of on a recurring basis, and I'll keep track of like what their assignments are before we meet. And then I usually will text check in with people through text message in between, just to see how they're progressing. Some people like to get more check-ins. Like they like to feel like, oh, the person is there, like supporting them. So I'll send like positive and reinforcing text messages in between, but I'll usually meet with people, I'd say like once a week or once every 2 weeks is the most common cadence.
And do they set that, or do you give like recommendations of, oh, I feel like it's better if we do weekly, or how does that work?
I think it's a conversation. So some people, like if, you know, financially, maybe they can only afford to meet like twice a month or something like that. And then some people, like, especially if they don't really feel as encouraged to exercise, or they really enjoy exercising with me personally, then we'll meet more often just because that's like what they want. But it really, I think it kind of just makes sense. Like we'll figure out our cadence, and then whatever works. And then if they need to reschedule, then we'll text and figure out any rescheduling.
Got it. And when it comes to like the remote versus in person, what percentage would you say is remote, like with your clients, and what is in person?
I'd say, well, all the initial phone consultations are remote, probably maybe like 60% remote and 40% in person. I really enjoy remote because it gives me a little bit more flexibility myself. It gives them flexibility. Like we both don't have to travel.
Yeah.
And I'll just remote meet people through video conferencing. I really enjoy remote because it's just so much easier. Like it doesn't take as much time out of their day. Like I'll meet with people remotely even when they're at work. So like if they're at the office and they just like book a conference room, I'll like meet with people remotely during the day, which is really convenient, or sometimes in the afternoon or like evening before they get off of work. I think it's just easier given the commuting in the Bay Area is so difficult already. So I really enjoy remote, and maybe like 40% in person, or maybe 30 to 40% in person.
And is your rate the same when it comes to the two?
I think, well, I've changed my rate structure a bit in the beginning. So I think some of them it's different, but generally I keep the rate pretty much the same.
Got it.
Yeah, so I think I switched it up in the beginning, because in the beginning I wasn't really sure. So sometimes I do give discounts based off people just meeting remotely. But yeah, I think I want to try to stick with one rate the whole time. I think remote is probably more convenient, and I try to do like more remote if I can.
Got it. When it comes to like invoicing, how do you do that, and like what tools do you use?
Most people just prefer to pay through Venmo. So I just use Venmo because people find it to be the most convenient. Some people have given me checks actually, so I've received checks as well. Some people pay in cash, but Venmo is pretty much the most popular because everyone just likes using Venmo. And I've used some Zelle Pay too, so that's like another person-to-person payment app through the banks. So, but Venmo's probably the most popular because everyone's just like, oh, I'll just Venmo you. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you don't need to send some like formal form or whatever every time you need to like collect payment?
No, yeah, people just enjoy Venmo the most, so I just use Venmo.
Okay, I mean, do you know if like other coaches might, or it's like whatever?
I think I know a couple of people who just use Venmo. I think other people might do other systems, but Venmo seems to be the easiest. Yeah, so I know a couple of people who do coaching as well, and they just get paid through Venmo.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
How did you meet those other people who do coaching?
So probably a lot of like former coworkers. So I actually have a lot of old coworkers who are doing their own thing, doing their own like small businesses. Cool. Like some people I know who are doing personal training. Like some people I know who work like for corporate, then they still do like similar stuff, but like as a corporate company. For a corporate company. But the people I know who do their own things, like I have some classmates, some old classmates from Berkeley who are like doing alternative careers, like when they first started in tech, and then they go into like personal training, or they do like coaching of different kinds, or nutrition coaching. A lot of old coworkers at Google went off and did their own things, so it was really nice that I was able to talk to them before I started off on my own journey. Yeah, so probably a lot of old coworkers and just like friends of friends.
Okay. And I had a quick question about your like remote calls. So do you use like Google Hangouts, or what do you use?
I usually use Google Hangouts. Sometimes I talk on the phone, just like on a regular phone call, and that's a pretty common one. I also have all the major video chatting systems, but Google Hangouts is probably the easiest because oftentimes, like before I meet with somebody, I always schedule the Google Calendar appointment already, and in there you can add a conferencing link, so like it's already gets sent to their email. We're all already on the same calendar invite. I can see that they've accepted it. They can see that I've accepted the calendar as well, and then right in there there's already a place to join the Hangout. So Hangouts has probably been one of the easiest ones, and I do regular phone call as well.
Cool. So it must have been scary to like start your own business like that. What were your thoughts going in, and did you have that support network that made you feel comfortable taking this leap?
Yeah, and in any case, when you're making a really, really major life change, I think one of the things you can always ask yourself is like, what is the worst case scenario if it doesn't work out? And for me, I thought about it, and the worst case scenario is that my business doesn't take off, I don't get any traction or like new clients contacting me, and then I probably will have to go back and get a regular corporate job, which to me was not ideal because I knew that this is like my passion. This is a thing that I've always enjoyed doing and always felt like I was good at doing. So that was like kind of helped me realize like, okay, the worst case scenario is I guess I have to look for a job again. And then the best case scenario is that, you know, my business does take off and like I'm able to help all these people's lives. Like I feel it's been very fulfilling of a journey for me. I've been able to see people make really amazing progress, like to move on from really bad breakups and to start dating again, and to feel really confident and good about their bodies. Like people who were afraid to even like exercise outside, and now they're like planning to run their first 5K. So there's been a lot of really, really good things. And then I guess this is like for everyone else, like if you have a really good support network, I think that also makes it a lot easier. For me, my partner was super, super supportive. I'd already saved up a good amount of money as well in terms of having worked for a long time before I made this jump. I think I probably could have made this jump earlier as well, but I think it just happened to be the right time with the stars aligning in that regard. But for anyone looking to make a major career change or a major life shift, thinking a lot about like what's the worst case scenario, and then maybe having like a backup emergency fund for however many months, like whatever you're comfortable with. Like a lot of people say like have like a rainy day fund for 3 months in case like you lose your job or you get sick, or like some people are more cautious and they have like an emergency fund for like 6 months. And then just set some dates and try to hold yourself accountable to those dates. Like by this date I'm going to set up my website, and by this date I'm going to like get however many clients, whether they are people who I'm just coaching as practice or people I'm coaching as part of my business. And then just like set dates and really try to stick with them. I mean, I think that's a big part of the reason why people will get coaches in the first place, is that they have somebody there rooting for them, keeping them accountable, keeping them on track towards different deadlines. But you know, you can do it for yourself. Just like, you know, put a piece of paper out there. By this date I want to do this, by this date I'm going to finish this, just to make sure it's like a very actionable thing, and just go for it. If it's your passion and you really work towards it, I think most of the time it can work out.
Nice. You're like pretty much spitting some coaching advice right now, right? I mean, I was, you know, doing the same thing when I left my job in 2016. I was like, all right, let me make sure I had some money saved up. I think I had like, you know, I recommend like 1 to 2 years of expenses actually. And I was just like, worst case scenario, just go back to a job. But usually, you know, when you're starting like a business, you gotta spend some time. It's gonna take some time. Like you're not gonna get results like right away, but like it'll go exponentially, you know? So you just gotta stick with it. So cool. So when you're doing these calls with your clients, are there any clients that you feel like, oh, they're already getting to their destination and you might not need coaching anymore? Like, have you already gotten to those points with clients?
Yeah, actually. So a lot of my clients, they kind of want to talk about a lot of things. So in a way, it's kind of also been described as like being a really, really good friend to somebody, but also having experience coaching, having experience talking people through like similar problems they've had. I mean, everybody probably has like a friend they can talk to about stuff, but that friend's not always going to be there to keep you accountable, who's not going to be there to check in with you, to like make sure you're, you know, progressing along to your project tasks. And so I think it's pretty good. I did make some really good progress with people. I've had one client graduate. He wanted to look into social skills and dating. He ended up setting up his like profiles, like going on dates, like feeling really good about everything. And so for now he's like graduated, and eventually, you know, if he does come back about other things, like I'm happy to talk with him about it. But you know, if people have already made progress that they're really happy with, then I feel like I don't even really have to continue meeting with them. So it's like some people like having someone they can keep chatting with on an ongoing basis, which I'm definitely here for. But if they feel like they've kind of accomplished the initial goal they set out to do, then I think it's great.
Cool. Actually, let's go back real quick to the pricing. So how did you determine your rate, and what would you say like normal coaches get in terms of salary or like hourly pay?
So I looked a little bit, did some like market research, see what people are paying in my area. So I think if you're looking for coaching, it can really range anywhere from like $70, $60 an hour all the way up to like $200, $250 an hour, depending on like the coach itself. Like I think it really just depends on the person, like the brand that they've built, kind of their professionalism, and people feel like they're getting results. For me, my standard rate is $120 an hour. That's kind of the same that I have for remote or in person.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing this? Because I'm sure it's gonna like increase later, right? Like with
yeah. I mean, I'll see. Like I enjoy doing it, and it's like a job that I really, really enjoy myself. So I feel satisfied with that amount. I don't feel like I am in the business to like charge as much as I can physically charge. I think that's been about for the year. Sometimes I'll do like promotions or discounts every now and then. Like it kind of just depends. Like I don't think I just pretty much looked at what was the going rate around here. I already have like 10 years of experience coaching people, especially with like LGBT topics, since I've been doing that for like 10 years. I also have like my BA in psychology and a bunch of certifications for related things, and all of the career experience from my corporate life. Yeah, I think I just kind of picked on a number and I was like, this makes like sense.
Yeah, sounds good. And the range you said was like in terms of Bay Area, right?
Yeah, I think most people would be like around 100, 120 maybe an hour.
Got it.
Depending on if you want to see like a person who's like a therapist as well, or like has like a license in like marriage and family therapy or things like that, then that could get more expensive. I know there's some people who charge like $200 an hour, but then there's also some people who also accept insurance, and then they'll like charge like however much an hour. So it kind of varies. I think the max that I've seen is probably $250 an hour. For like some therapists in the Bay Area.
Let's get into marketing real quick when it comes to your business. So for your first few clients, how did you get them?
My first few clients are definitely word of mouth. So because I have like friends who know that this is something that I've always been interested in, and I told them like when I finished my personal training certification, I'm like, oh, I finally finished my personal training certification. I loved kickboxing, and I would substitute teach at the kickboxing class at Google, even though I was just a regular like full-time employee who was not hired as a kickboxing instructor. When the actual instructor, who's like a professional, was unavailable, he told me that I could sub for him at work as well. So when he wasn't there, I'd help teach like the beginner class and even like do some curriculums for advanced class too. So I loved kickboxing, and I was like, yes, I love teaching people and helping people. So it was like a no-brainer for me. So I already built up some experience doing that, some experience like helping train my friends. And so when like friends knew they had somebody saying like, oh, I'm trying to like work on like find a personal trainer, or oh, I'm trying to find someone who can help me with like career coaching or things like that. So initially word of mouth, and then building up my online presence through creating a website, of course, like having a professional website that's also mobile friendly, very easy to use, fill out like contact forms, and then marketing in terms of setting up like a Facebook account. I have an Instagram for my business. I have a Google Maps business page as well. So those are probably the biggest places where people will look nowadays. Like I'll get people who contact me and they just say like, oh, I saw your Google Maps page. I was looking for like a life coach near me, or like a wellness coach or a nutritionist near me. And then I think the majority I actually get is through Yelp. So Yelp is really big in the Bay Area, and a lot of people use that because the reviews are very filtered. They'll like make sure like if it seems like a fake account, they'll like remove it, or if the person doesn't have like any other reviews or any other friends and it seems like shady. So like people really trust, I feel like they really trust Yelp around here. So Yelp is probably the biggest one, but in the beginning it was all word of mouth through people who knew me and knew that I was passionate about this, referred their friends.
Cool. Are you looking to like expand your marketing efforts, or do you feel like it's already getting some good traction?
I would love to expand my marketing efforts. I just haven't focused as much on that because I guess when you're like running your own business, you pretty much are like the marketing person, the salesperson, the operations person, the product manager. You're doing pretty much everything. I would like to expand my marketing efforts. I did try using AdWords a tiny bit.
Oh, cool.
And I looked into Facebook and Instagram ads, but I actually haven't run any yet.
Okay.
But it seems like it would be a good choice, and I'll probably look into that.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah.
I mean, it looks like you're getting a lot of business already through those means, so that's awesome. Do you have any advice for people, like other advice for people who are trying to start out with coaching like me?
I think a lot of it is just like building up your brand and like people knowing that it's something you're passionate about, something that you're open to doing. Definitely, I think having a website was really useful because then people, if they suggest me to their friends, they can just Google like my company name, Bay Wellness Coaching, and they'll either like stumble upon my Facebook or my Yelp or my website or my Google business page. Like, I think those all really help to kind of put yourself out there. In terms of coaching, I think you just kind of start doing it and then getting a better idea of like what's been successful in the past. Like, oh, maybe if I ask this question, like asking people like what they think is the next step for them, and like kind of like helping guide them towards their answers. Like, I kind of also see myself as a consultant, so I'm also somebody who actually gives them suggestions, like, oh, I think you should look into this, or maybe you should look into that. Like, I feel like I'm like working together with them towards that goal. And then another thing is, if people ask me for career coaching, I think a big benefit is like having a really big network. So since I know people at like pretty much all of the major companies and organizations you could work for around here, I think a lot of people find that really invaluable because I've connected clients with people at different companies to hear about the experience or help them get referrals to a lot of different jobs. So I think that's helpful. Like having like a network already, like telling your friends and family like, oh, this is something I'm doing now. Having that online presence as well, just in case people want to find you from there. And then just doing as much of it as possible and like just seeing if it's something you love. And if you really enjoy it, then I feel you will be very encouraged to continue doing it.
Awesome. So where can people find you and get you as a life coach?
They can find my website, baywellnesscoaching.com. They can find that same baywellnesscoaching.com through Yelp and through Google Maps. My Instagram handle is baywellness, and that's probably it.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much for being on the show. It helped me a lot. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of viewers out there. So thank you, Irene.
No problem.
Bye.